Okay, now we're going to get into how to create a new record from scratch. So let's say you have heard about a new opportunity in the community and it's a record that should be owned by your agency. So you're going to go ahead and create that record. So the first thing you want to do is head up to your very top menu bar and click New Record. Make sure you're in your Fundy management view here, like you can see I am. And once you click that, that will open up all the fields to create a new record. So the first thing you'll notice here is this little legend that shows you that if you click any of these question marks throughout the page, they will give you field use and standards information. So for example, for this first one, if I don't know what this is or what I'm supposed to do, I can click that help button and that will load some information for me to read about the process and what I'm supposed to put in here. Okay. So the first couple things you want to do here, some of these options are set automatically, which is great. You want to select today as the update date. You want to click me and that'll put your initials in here. Then you select an update schedule. So this, it depends on the type of record it is. So if it's something that's more static, that won't change that much, you might want a longer time before you need to check it again. If it's something that's a little bit more dynamic, like a program or something that has some dates, you might want to pick a shorter time period. So if you want shorter than 3 months or some specific time in the future, you can click here and that'll open up a calendar for you to select the update schedule that you want. Then you just make sure the record owner is correct. So either your agency or if you're making it for another agency, you select the agency that should own the record and just make sure that automatically assign lowest available record number is checked on. Okay, so moving on to the next section, the comments section. The public bulletin is for announcements. So not just your general information, but more so things that are really important for the citizen to know. So it's the first thing that comes up on the record. So you might want to put something in here like registration required for this program, or community center closed until further notice due to flooding. So it's sort of like a public service announcement area. Now the next one here is record quality. So if you're not sure, you can leave that blank here with those two little dashes, or you can select whether it's complete, it's ready for publication, you're waiting for some information, or that sort of thing. So you can decide there. Record type, you want to choose the most applicable record type. So if it's a trail, you would select trail, or if it was an organization or a group, you could choose that. So select the record type that is most applicable. Data management memo is a place where you can put a note in about this record and the citizen won't be able to see it. It's just an internal messaging feature that we can use to either communicate with other data managers who are updating the same records as us, or with ourselves in the future, so we can make a note of something that we want to remember. Block update emails. So if you just leave that unknown, that's fine. If the person whose email is associated with the record doesn't want to be receiving the update emails, you can block them here. So that if you want to block them, you can say yes. So maybe for some reason, the person whose email is associated doesn't want to be receiving all the emails. They might be an internal person or whatever the reason. So you can do that. You can also select no, otherwise just leave it as unknown and that's fine. Non-public record. So if you are working on a record and it's not finished yet, and you just want to get it started, but you don't want it to be public, you can select yes for it to be a non-public record, which means it'll be hidden. Then when it's ready or finished and you want to make it public, you can hit no, and then that will make it not non-public. So the wording there is a little confusing and backwards. Okay. Moving down to the organization and program names section. So the heading is where you'd put the title, so the name of the trail or the name of the beach or the name of the program, whatever it is. Then subheading is used if the title is part of a larger system or an organization. So for example, you might have the name of a trail in here, and then the subheading would be the name of the trail system that trail is a part of, for example. Or maybe you are listing a program here and that program is run by some organization. So this is just a way of connecting sort of something that's part of a bigger thing. So I don't use it that often, but it's there for you. And you can also click to publish it as a cross-reference, meaning that if people search for the subheading text, they'll get the the search result of the heading as well. So it makes it so that it's more easy for them to find. Alternate name and spelling. So this is where you can, again, cross-reference items maybe that is a common misspelling of the title, or an old name or a nickname. So in some places we often call an opportunity by the old name or the nickname that we call it around the area. So that's where you can put those sort of things in here, so that if someone searches for the wrong spelling or for the old name or the nickname, it'll come up for them. Logo, we'll go over this more in advanced data management. So we need to pull in a link here from somewhere where we upload a photo. So we'll go over that in the advanced data management video. Located in, so this is arguably the most important field, or at least one of the most important fields. You want to make sure that this is filled in. If it's not, the record will sort of be floating in space, and then it will show up in the search results for everyone all across the province, because the system doesn't really know where it is or who's supposed to be seeing it. And you also want to be very specific here. So this is exactly where the opportunity is located. So it may be something that serves a larger area, serves the whole province, but wherever the office or the program or the facility or the trail or whatever it is, wherever it's located, that's where you put, that's what you put here. So you want to come up with the smallest community possible. As you start to type, some options will start to drop down for you, and you can select your community. Address, fill this out as specifically as you can, and making sure that each item is filled out properly. So instead of saying street name here, so instead of saying Main Street, you actually just want to put Main, and then the street type is where you would go in and put street. So you want to make sure you use each of the fields appropriately, because each piece is a data point that helps the system organize itself, and it improves our search functionality and the overall working of the database. So fill in the address. Once you've got your address filled in, you can map the item. So if it's something that doesn't have an address, you can also leave the address blank and hit no value, and that will make so that it doesn't map. So maybe it's just an online resource or something and you're not mapping it, that's fine. If you do want to map it, you can click site address and then refresh it, and then that should so whatever you put in here for your address should automatically populate it on the map. And you can also toggle back between map and satellite here, views, to see. But then, so say your address, maybe you don't have a civic number with the address, or for some reason it's not populating correctly on the map. You can also always do manual map placement. So for example, maybe a trail that you're trying to map doesn't actually have a civic address, but you want to just plunk the little location icon down where it is. So you can go manual map placement, and then you can move that around and put it wherever it's supposed to be. Okay. Update map, that does the same thing as this little refresh button. So if you change it, you can click update map, and then that will update it. You can also add some location notes here. You can also select a mapping category. So if it is a trail or a water route or an equipment loan, there's a few items here that have been populated, and this will continue to get populated as we move forward. So you can also select the color of your icon based on the record type. Okay, other site locations. This is for if you have a program or some sort of opportunity that has multiple locations, maybe a trail that has multiple trailheads, or a program that runs in 2 spots. You can click add, and then it'll open up a whole new address spot for you to add an additional address, and you can do that as many times as you like. Okay, areas served. This is now where we go to that broader community. So before, where we talked about location being very specific, area served is more broad. So a trail that might be located in a village or a very small town or a rural area, a rural community, that might serve the whole region or the whole county. A program or an organization that is located in one town may serve the whole community, the whole region, or maybe the whole province. So that's where you can start to type in larger areas like Nova Scotia or Colchester County, that sort of thing. So then you can select a community from the drop down and add that as the area served. So we've got located in, very specific, area served is more broad. And then you can add some general notes here as well. Okay, contact information. So the first section, social media, you simply go to the social media page in question, copy the URL, so highlight the URL in the search bar at the top, and copy that and paste it into these bars here. Website, same thing. So you just either type in or copy and paste the website URL, the link, into this field. Email, type the email in there. Record update email private. So this is if you do want an email associated with the record so that someone receives the update email requests, but they don't want their email public on the page. So you can, this is a way to kind of continue the communication piece without publicizing their contact information. So this email field is for the public email that people can contact to for more information, and this is for a private email that's just on record for our communication purposes. Okay, phone number. The format for the phone number is the 3 numbers and then 3 numbers and then 4 numbers separated by the dash here. So if you're copy and pasting maybe and the format is different, like it has brackets or whatever it is, you want to change that so that it's in that format. Okay, most of the contact information that you add, you want to add it up here. So the website, the email, the phone, all of the main stuff, you want to fill in these main headings for communication. Now, if there is additional contact information, like maybe the first and last name of the contact person, perhaps their title, maybe a secondary phone number for them. So if their phone number is the same as the one up here, you don't want to bother duplicating it here. So we're going to try to avoid duplication at all costs. But if there is maybe a secondary phone number, or if this person has a specific email that's different from this main email, you can add that in, no problem. Same with the alternate contact. So again, keep it simple. If any of the information already exists above, don't duplicate it, but you can just fill in whatever you feel is applicable or necessary in this case. Mailing address is optional. A lot of our opportunities probably don't require adding a mailing address, but perhaps it's a program or something where you require registration, or you are requesting mail for some reason. So feel free to fill that in. And same with fax number. If you have a fax number and you feel it's applicable, you can put that in. The volunteering section is a place where we can sort of post or publicize that we're looking for volunteers for a certain opportunity. So in this case, say I'm looking for volunteers, I want to put in the name and the contact information of the person who folks can contact if they want to get involved. So we're not putting a ton of information here. We're saying, here's the person to contact if you're interested in volunteering. And then down here, we can put a little bit of information about the volunteer opportunity. So maybe it's looking for volunteers for Canada Day celebrations. And then up here, I would put the name of the person who's you can contact to get involved. And maybe they're the director or whatever. So you just fill that out, and then folks can see that you're looking for volunteers and they can contact you that way. Okay, this section is a little bit more in the advanced. Some of these fields are a little bit more in the advanced section, so we'll leave a few of them, but I'll do an overview of each. So trail rating, we'll go over this more in the advanced video. There's some standards work going on around trail rating. So as more information on this is available, we will update the manuals. So this is where you would put information about the trail rating difficulty for a trail, if that's what it is. If it's not a trail, you can just leave it blank. Any fields you leave blank will just not be visible to the consumer. So it's no worries if you leave something blank. They don't see it as a blank. They just don't see the option. Okay, the information section. This is a very important section. So this is where you put the text or the copy, the written information about the record or the opportunity. So you can, you want the first 2 sentences of this to be very descriptive, because there's an item called brief description, which in some searches is what is displayed to the user, and that just shows the first 2 sentences of the information section. So don't worry about making it too flowery and writing it too fancy. You really just want the information that the person needs. You're also welcome to write more than 2 sentences, of course, but be careful just not to go too overboard here. Sometimes simple is better, but feel free to fill it out to whatever extent you think is necessary. This is also currently where we put the different pieces of code where we can embed photos and videos and maps and different things. So that will be in the advanced video as well. Same with trail or water route map. This is where we put in some code and we embed the map. So we'll go over that in a future video as well, more advanced capabilities. Eligibility, that means age. So you can put minimum and maximum age in here only if it's applicable. So don't fill this in if it's, say a beach or a trail and all ages are welcome. You can just leave it blank. If it was a program and it's only for kids 11 to 14, then feel free to go ahead and put that in. You can also add some notes here about age. So if there's anything specific that you want to say. Hours, dates, and meetings. So these sections, my recommendation here is to keep these as easily maintainable as possible. So I tend not to put in a bunch of dates here because that's more hard to maintain. I have to remember to keep coming in and updating them. So feel free to use these as you wish under the meetings heading. So if it was an organization that had meetings, maybe I would say something like meets on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. So something that's less specific to give people an idea of what the group does, but I don't have to keep going in and updating meeting dates every month. The accessibility section here, we're working on building this out a little bit more, but for now, feel free to check off and add notes for what you know. One caution here is we would rather provide less information if we're unsure than to provide more information when we're unsure, because we don't want folks to think that something is more accessible than it is and show up with an expectation and be disappointed or worse, maybe it's dangerous or whatever. So only fill out what you know and be sure that you are sure. And then you can feel free to write some additional notes down here. You can link in an external events calendar if you wish here. And then this is the events schedule functionality, which I don't know if it's currently being utilized. So if you are doing event schedule, this is where you can put in to add one-off events. You can put the start date, end date, start time, end time, and whether it's repeating or not, and then you can add that. And then special information establishes the year that the opportunity was created. So if you don't know that, you can leave it blank. And if you do, you can just fill it in like that. Okay, and whenever you've finished filling out all of the content that you want and you've got everything ready to go, you can give it one last review. And then when you're all finished, hit submit updates, and that will save your record and it will be a brand new listing. One thing to remember, once you've created a brand new record, just remember that it doesn't have any publication codes attached to it. So in the next video, we're going to go over how to add and remove publication codes, which is very important because right now your record is, beautiful. You've done a great job creating it, but because it's not tagged with any publication codes, it's actually not that findable. So it's just kind of floating in space. So we want to tag it so that it's easy for our users to find.